With 2024 about to come to an end, I thought it'd be time to rank my top 10 movies of the year. Now, I just want to point out before I start that I haven't seen every new release of this year, like Doom Part 2 and Better Man. I'm sorry you guys didn't make the list because I just haven't seen you. Just a quick honourable mention, I have to put Superman, the Christopher Reeve story on there. This documentary was one of the best I've ever seen, talking all about Christopher's life from his training in acting all the way up to his accident. It was just, I was crying for most of it, but it was absolutely brilliant to see how inspiring this man was outside of the Superman costume. At number 10, I actually have Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. This film was great to revisit the Mad Max world that was developed in Fury Road nearly 10 years ago now. I've never seen the original Mad Maxes, but I love Fury Road. And Chris Hemsworth delivers a brilliant performance as the villain in this. He's taken such a turn since Thor, and I love it. The only reason it's not higher is because you can tell there's not much of the practical effects as much as there was in Fury Road. But this is still really good. You should check it out. At number 9, I actually have Inside Out 2. There's a lot of animation films on this list, which we'll get to later, but Inside Out 2 really surprised me this year. As not a massive fan of the first film, this one really surprised me. Anxiety, for me, was such a relatable character, and her motivation and therefore downfall was such a great storyline of this movie, and even the fact that Joy experienced some anxiety and stress herself, I thought was a really good development from the first film, because I found her a tad irritated at first, but I understand why people like her. At number 8, I don't see people talking about this one a lot, but I've got Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. The CGI is carried over brilliantly from the other trilogy, and the new characters are actually a really welcome addition. The new ape, Noah, he carries the movie, but also so many other CG characters carry it, like the orangutan and the villain played by Kevin Durant. But I think what works for me in this film is the fact that the apes are the central characters and not the villains. Granted, there is an ape villain, but that doesn't mean he is the whole villain of the film. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. Now, being British, there is no way this was not going to be on my list. At number 7, I've got Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul. Aardman is on top form with this film, as they've always been with Wallace and Gromit, but seeing these two back on Christmas Day especially was just icing on the cake to Christmas this year. Now, the reason this isn't really higher for me is because I think the B plot of the film with the police officers kind of took over a little bit. Not that that's a problem, because they were also very liked characters. And Peter Kay, I mean, it's great to see him back in the Aardman world. But also, the voice for Wallace still isn't hitting for me. I understand the circumstances with Peter Sallis, and he will always be Wallace to me. But they also did do a really good job on incorporating the new actor's voice. And seeing Feathers McGraw back, you know, that just brought back so much childhood nostalgia. It was great. At number 6, I've got Transformers 1. This was the surprise of the year. The trailers, as I've heard, did nothing for this film, but I didn't care. I'm a Transformers fan, and I was going to see this no matter what. The voice cast, at first glance, doesn't sound right, but they all pull it off brilliantly, especially Brian Tyree Henry as Megatron. This is a great introduction to the Transformers franchise if you've got kids. And even if you're an adult, it's a kids movie for the first half, and then the second half is a full-blown Transformers extravaganza. You'll love it. Paramount, if you're listening, make a sequel to this film and make it War and Fall for Cybertron. Now, I'm going to be the first to admit this, but I do not like musicals. That being said, I absolutely loved Wicked Part 1, or just Wicked. It's one of the actual musical shows I've seen and loved, and they adapted the first act of the show brilliantly in this film and added so much without overstuffing it. Do you know what I mean? And honestly, this film, I think, was one of the best cast movies of the year. The cast is incredible, especially the two leads in Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. You can tell that everyone involved in this was a fan of the show and wanted to do it justice. And the set design and costumes, my God, if they don't win an Oscar for that, it criminal. Now, I think a lot of people were expecting this was going to be my number 1. But at number 4, I've got Deadpool and Wolverine. This is probably the best thing Marvel's done since Endgame. And yeah, I know that's not saying much, but Ryan Reynolds, Sean Levy, and Hugh Jackman knew exactly what they wanted to do with this film, and they did it. The humour is top form for Deadpool. Wolverine has never looked better, clearly. And it actually genuinely has some heartfelt moments. The plot is a little bit squiffy, but, you know, it's Marvel. What do you expect? But the characters, they're on their peak in this film. And I'm happy if we never get another Deadpool solo film. but he's got to keep showing up in stuff. I want to see more Deadpool and I want to see more Wolverine, especially from these two. Now, we're getting into my top 3, and some of them are a little bit biased due to me being a massive fan of the source material, but others genuinely were amazing. And speaking of amazing, Alien Romulus, my god. This is exactly what I wanted in an Alien sequel, and I'm a huge fan of the original 2 films. The cast is great, even though a lot of them are disposable, but the main 2 leads in Rain and Andy, they carry the whole film. Speaking of carrying the movie, the practical effects, my god, they've never looked better. The Xenomorph looks brilliant, and there's so many disturbing creature effects, and it's brilliant. It's exactly what you want in an Alien movie. I think maybe other than Transformers, this is a film I need a sequel for, and I need it now. And what I said a moment ago about me ranking something very high because I'm a huge fan of something, yeah, here it comes. This is how you make a Sonic movie. I'm a huge Sonic fan, and I even loved the first 2 films, but this is pretty much an adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2, and it's brilliant. All of the cast are in top form in this film. Ben Schwartz, Idris Elba, and Jim Carrey have never been better as their characters, especially Carrey. But whoever picked Keanu Reeves to play Shadow, they deserve a raise. Shadow is 100% one of the villains in this film, but they do what they did with Shadow to begin with in the games and make him a sympathetic one and someone you want to root for, even though his goals aren't very nice. The jokes genuinely had me in stitches, the action is on top form for Sonic, and it's just all around a very heartfelt movie. You should go see this. Take your kids, take your mum, take whoever you want. Go and watch Sonic 3. Now, when I say this last film had me laughing, smiling, and just in general awe the whole way through, yeah, believe me. The Wild Robot is the best film of the year, and probably the best animated film since Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. The second this film started, I was hooked. The beautiful animation style with the painted cell shading is something we've never seen before, and something, why has nobody done this? But as well as the animation, the voice cast absolutely nail it. Lupita Nyong'o absolutely carries the movie as Roz. Pedro Pascal is hilarious, and this film even has Matt Berry in it. How could I not like a film with Matt Berry in it? But all around, this film is just stunning. It's just beautiful. And I think Disney should be very worried because they're not making films like this. This is DreamWorks, and it's 10 out of 10, more than 10 out of 10 for me. And the scene where Roz teaches Bright Bill to fly just cements it for me that this is the best film of the year. Like I said, I laughed, I cried. This film really made me feel something this year. Wild Robot, you deserve the #1 spot this year. Well done.